For spine-chilling true stories of sinister treehouse hauntings, unexplainable secrets revealed. The sun sank slowly over Maplewood, painting the Thompsons' backyard in hues of orange and lavender. A quaint treehouse stood among the oaks, its wooden frame almost too perfect to be real. But it was within that charming structure that darkness stirred, harboring the secrets of the past. 6-year-old Lily Thompson spent hours inside, her laughter echoing off the trees, blissfully unaware of the shadows creeping closer. Her parents, James and Emily, initially thought nothing of it. Children have imaginary friends, they told themselves. Who knew that Lily's best friend, Whispers, had a sinister reputation that echoed through time? As dusk cloaked the yard, the atmosphere shifted. Toys began to vanish. Lily's favorite stuffed bear one day, her sparkly unicorn the next, only to reappear among the twisted branches. Unease simmered beneath the surface. Was it her imagination, or did shadows dance long after the sun had set? Emily's heart raced at the thought of Lily all alone in the treehouse, playing with a friend they could not see. The whispers began softly, like the rustling of leaves, but grew incessantly at night, racking the family with anxiety. Then came the chilling night when Emily was jolted awake by Lily's voice. "Whispers, doesn't he like you?" It was a breathy giggle, almost gleeful, echoing in the quiet house. A cold sweat dripped down Emily's spine. How could a child concoct such a horrifying statement? They were supposed to be safe, cocooned in their suburban paradise. A nagging doubt crept in, worming its way deeper, feeding off the family's fears like a parasite. Emily turned to the town's historical archives, uncovering the truth about their beloved home. The land was tainted, once home to an orphanage, famous for dark deeds buried deep in the shadows. The thrill of her discoveries turned quickly to dread as Emily learned of children lost, their cries swallowed by time. The authorities dismissed her, shrugging off her warnings while claiming all kids have wild imaginations. But Emily could feel the cold fingers of despair gripping her family. Meanwhile, the whispers turned from playful to menacing, as if they were a beckoning chorus, hypnotizing her daughter. Max, the little brother, began waking at odd hours, frightened by the lingering presence that floated through their home. Just when they hoped for relief, disbelief from their neighbors closed in around them. It was time to confront the unseen terror. They had to approach the treehouse, this innocent playground now a gateway to mystery, clutching each other's hands tightly, strings of paranoia taut between them. As they neared, the air thickened, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. Something in the shadows called out, no longer in whispers but in chilling cries that echoed through the night, pleading. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Hearts racing, they stood frozen, feeling the pulse of the night quickening. They heard it, the voice, not playful now, but commanding, hungry. The treehouse loomed ominously, almost sentient, promising secrets that could enslave or destroy them. What would happen if they sought out Whispers, this amalgamation of lost childhood dreams? What curse lay dormant, ready to spring forth, and could this family, once thriving amidst laughter, handle the truth buried in the shadows? As the wind howled, a single cold breath brushed their skin, and suddenly the night felt alive, suffused with haunting desperation. The fear rushed in. Could they escape the grip of the whispers that had claimed so many before? Time twisted, leaving them teetering on the edge of a haunting abyss, where the line between imagination and reality blurred. They could almost feel the branches of the treehouse stretching out towards them, eager to pull them in. Shadow and dusk melded, twisting around their legs like 1,000 ice-cold fingers. James's grip on Emily tightened, her pulse pounding in match with his. They exchanged a glance, raw fear etched into their faces, reflecting 1,000 unsaid thoughts. What lay beyond that splintered door? The night held its breath. Whispers danced on the wind, mixing with the rustling leaves, teasing, mocking. Lily's giggle reverberated, twisted into something sinister. Whispers wants to play. She sang, innocent and yet tainted by eerie overtones that warned of danger. Lily. Emily shouted, the name ripping from her throat. You need to come down. But her voice felt thin against the encroaching shadows. What if she doesn't want to? Max whispered, eyes wide as he gripped his sister's hand tightly. A wave of dread swept over James as he thought of his little girl, ensnared in the web of fog and whispers, moving further away from them. Then came a strange sound, a rustling not from the trees but from the treehouse itself. The door creaked slightly, like a breath exhaled from deep within the wood, inviting them. A shiver crawled up James's spine. Emily, we need to call for help. But before she could respond, Lily's head appeared from the hatch. Her little face gleamed with a twisted excitement. Mommy, Daddy. Come meet Whispers. Time seemed to pause. The innocence of her voice was laced with darkness, and dread pooled in the pit of James's stomach. Lily, don't go back in there. He ordered, stepping forward. But she didn't flinch, she merely giggled. Was it real, or was it the shadows playing tricks on them? Whispers want to let me leave, Lily said, her smile twisting into a frown, eyes wide with fear. I don't like it in here. His heart raced, pumping panic through his veins. The words bounced off the walls of this family home that had morphed into a house of horrors. Get down, honey. Now. But Lily shook her head, fading into the darkness once more. The door swung shut with a resounding thud, the sound ricocheting through the thick air like an echoing gunshot. Lily. Emily shouted, voice cracking. Lily, please. Then it began. A low, rhythmic breathing came from within the treehouse, resonating like a growl. The voices intensified, a cacophony of shrieks and laughter, each one more chilling than the last, pulling them closer to the abyss. Visions flashed through Emily's mind, children lost to the Whispers, trapped forever in this haunted haven. James wrestled with fear, fury driving him forward. I'm going in. He declared, pushing through the thickening veil of dread. We can't leave her. James, no. Emily screamed, but he was already climbing up, fingers digging into the splintered wood, muscle memory overpowering caution. He reached the top, ready to pull Lily into his arms, but the door resisted, plucking at his sanity. A voice tore through the night, sinister and smooth. Stay away from her, James. She's one of us now. The temperature plummeted, wrapping around him like a vice, squeezing the breath from his chest. Shadows twisted within, revealing ghostly shapes that flickered in and out of existence. Figures of children with hollow eyes stared back at him, 1,000 lost souls beckoning. Lily. He yelled again, searching frantically, every nerve on fire. Where are you? And then he saw her, small and trembling, dancing in the far corner, oblivious to the terror threatening to swallow her whole. Come here, sweetheart. But there was a sudden flash of darkness that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, growing stronger, overwhelming his voice. The laughter stopped. All went silent as if time had taken a deep breath, halting the world around them. James, Emily, Whisper shouted, frantically beating on the door. Get out, now. But Whispers had arrived. A dreadful certainty gripped him, tightening like a noose. What had he awakened? And in that moment, the realization hit him like a gut punch. This was only the beginning. The night shuddered as a new play unfolded in the shadows, setting into motion a horrifying fate for the Thompson family. Would there be a way out, or had they walked straight into the very heart of darkness? He turned to face the looming door, feeling the shadows thrumming with a life all their own, daring him to cross the threshold into the mystery that awaited. What choice would he make? The door loomed before James, heavy and pulsating with dread. Every instinct screamed at him to retreat, to turn back and protect his family from whatever was waiting inside. But Lily was in there. His daughter, lost in a sinister playground that twisted innocence into something dark and unrecognizable. "James, please." Emily's voice was a thread taut with fear, pulling him back. "We need to find another way." "We can't," but as soon as the words left her mouth, a piercing scream erupted from within the treehouse. The sound sliced through the air, a terrifying harmony of anguish and despair that stole the breath from James's lungs. He faltered, the weight of dread pressing down hard. "Lily!" he shouted, the name tearing from him like a desperate prayer. The door shuddered, vibrations echoing from the depths inside. It swung open with a slow creak, as if inviting him into the swirling shadows. A chill seeped out, wrapping around him like a damp shroud. Heart pounding, James stepped through the threshold, the air thick with whispers that seemed to curl around his ears, drilling down into his mind that he scanned the space-broken furniture scattered like the memories of laughter, layers of dust thick enough to choke. Shadows burrowed into every corner, clutching secrets he was not prepared to uncover. "Lily!" he called again, the sound swallowed whole by the oppressive silence. As he moved deeper within, a glint of movement caught his eye, the flicker of fabric, the hint of a familiar figure. There, against the wall, hunched Lily, her small frame shaking, fingers twisted into the remnants of an old toy. What a sight, a grotesque marionette caught in an unseen hand. "Daddy?" Her voice was a whisper, a haunting echo. "Lily, come here." He reached for her, stepping forward, but the air twisted, brushing against him like fingertips, pulling him back. It was as if the shadows themselves had origin and purpose, intent on corralling him away just when he needed to be close. "Stay back," came a voice, low and seething, reverberating like thunder within the hollow space. Invisible forces surrounded him, creeping along his spine, urging him to comply. The shadows danced, shifting and warping like living things, revealing the outlines of other children, lost faces, eyes wide with terror, mouths moving but no sounds escaping. "Don't you see?" one of them said, its voice a raspy sigh. "Whispers needs you, needs her. James, please." Emily's cries pierced through the layers, sounding distant yet desperate. Each word felt like a tether pulling him back, a reminder of the life they shared beyond these cursed walls. "No!" he shouted, overriding the anxious cacophony. "I'm getting her out." He lunged towards Lily, reaching for her hand, but the shadows surged forward, a tide of dark energy pushing him back, slamming him against the wall. The figures closed in, the children's faces contorting into twisted masks of glee. "You cannot leave. Join us." Their voices sang, harmonizing in a mad chorus, and the shadows thickened, suffocating and inescapable. The darkness pressed against him, squeezing his chest, constricting his breath. Panic clawed at him. The whispers transformed, twisting into laughter that turned his insides to ice. "James!" Emily's frantic voice cut through. "You have to let her go. We have to leave." But could he? Could he leave without Lily? The weight of the choice hung heavy like the cold air around him. A flash of her innocent face pierced through the chaos, and for a moment, he faltered. What was one child against the horror of many? With a surge of adrenaline, he pulled against the darkness, breaking through its suffocating grip. "No. I want to let you take her." Lily's eyes widened, filled with pure fear as shadows erupted from the corners, reaching for her. The world around him began to spin, the treehouse itself trembling beneath the weight of unseen horrors. What did he awaken? What had awakened inside him? Surrounded by nightmares, the whispering laughter rose again, vibrating through him unwavering and full of mocking delight. "You've come to play, haven't you?" James's world began to tilt, the ground beneath him shifting as if mocking his resolve. He had to fight not just for Lily but for their very souls. In the stifling darkness, the air was thick with malice and fear. Would he find a way to save her, or would he, too, become part of the whispers, ensnared forever? The shadows beckoned, and he could feel their icy grip tightening around his mind. What was reality, and what waited beyond the suffocating darkness. With one fierce scream for his daughter, he plunged deeper into the shadows, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The air thickened, pressing against James like a heavy blanket soaked in fear. The laughter echoed, rising and falling, wrapping around him like serrated vines. He fought to keep his focus, shaking off the clutches of dark whispers that twisted around his thoughts. Lily. His voice clawed through the darkness, desperate. The shadows writhed, pulling at his legs, tugging him backward as if trying to sink him deeper into a pit of despair. He staggered, heart racing. He couldn't let the shadows have her. He couldn't, but the child's figure against the wall itched at his mind. Lily's wide eyes reflected terror. Would he really risk everything for her? The very question echoed in the shadows around him. "Join us," the children intoned, their voices melding into a cruel symphony. Forever sweat trickled down James's neck. He gritted his teeth and charged forward, feeling the heaviness clawing at him. He had to reach her. The shadows swirled, reshaping themselves, morphing into grotesque images of laughter and innocence twisted dark. "Stay with us." The voices twined together, seductive yet sinister, each pitch shushing like a lullaby, meant to draw him in. In panic, he clutched his head. No. No. He fought against the whispers, forcing his way through the crushing dread surging around him. He couldn't give in. He couldn't lose her. Emily's voice, wavering and muffled, broke through the chaos. "James. We need to go. Now." Just outside, the world felt miles away, fading. But the bond of a father surged within him, refusing to bend or break. Lily. He was almost there, her little fingers reaching up from the shadow like a bright beacon in his dark sea of despair. He lunged again, hands outstretched, desperation fueling every ounce of strength he had left. "Daddy." Her voice cracked, fear spilling into it in a haunting echo. As their hands nearly touched, a force like icy wind swept in, blasting against him. The shadows, their essence suddenly thickened, coiling tighter, more demanding. Screams erupted from the other children surrounding him. "She belongs here. You will regret this." James's breath caught in his throat, and he fought to breathe as the shadows constricted around him. "Join the game," the chorus pleaded, voices blending with the shrieks of despair. "Join forever, it'll be fun." James recoiled, shaking his head. The warmth of Lily's hand drew him in like a moth to a flame. Instinctively, his feet found the ground, solidifying his resolve. He wouldn't surrender to their madness. He couldn't. No. The word exploded from him, raw and primal. "I will save my daughter." With a surge of adrenaline, he stepped forward, ramming his way against the darkness. He slammed into the wall of shadows, and as he did, a blinding light cut through the surrounding darkness like a hot knife through butter. "Daddy!" cried Lily, eyes wide as the darkness wavered. The shadows recoiled, hissing like animals caught in light. "Emily!" James shouted, breathless. They were close now, but he needed one more push. He lunged, reaching for Lily, their fingers just grasping each other. She squeezed, her tiny hand forcing warmth into his cold world. But the darkness lashed out violently, and the treehouse trembled again. "You will pay!" It shrieked, angry and wrathful. In that moment of fiery white clarity, James felt their time slip away, the air heavy with a mixture of hope and despair. Shadows coiled around him, wrapping tightly, ready to pull him back into endless night, yet he held Lily. He had to fight. There had to be a way out. What language did the darkness speak? What was waiting for them once they escaped its grasp? As the world spun on its axis, James charged forward into the light, heart racing, not knowing what was on the other side. The light enveloped them, blinding and warm, sweeping away the chilling tendrils of the shadow. For a fleeting moment, James felt hope surge through him. He and Lily were escaping the dark. But just as quickly, the light flickered, dimming until only a murky twilight remained, swirling with remnants of the darkness they had just fought. James squinted into the dimness, heart pounding in his chest. "Lily. Are you okay?" His voice trembled, a thin thread of panic weaving through it. Her grip tightened, her small hand trembling against his. I'm scared, Daddy." Her voice wavered, and the shadows lurked closer, creeping like spiders on a web. "Stay close to me." Around them, the familiar ghost of the treehouse echoed with sinister laughter, a cruel code of familiarity drenched in menace. Images flashed in the hazy twilight, memories of their afternoons spent laughing, building, and playing around the house transformed into a twisted gallery of fear. The walls pulsed as if alive, breathing. "Why did you come?" A voice boomed from the shadows, cutting through the air like a knife. The noise reverberated in his bones, shaking him to his core. The weight of sinister eyes bore down on him from the darkness, squeezing the warmth from his skin. "Leave us alone," James shouted, his voice desperate yet strong. "We just want to go home." "Home?" The voice mocked, laughter shattering the air like glass. "You think there's a home for you here? Here is where we play. Please." Lily whimpered, shrinking against James. The chill seeped into his bones, an ice water, stealing away his breath. Without warning, shadows lunged at them, tendrils reaching, clawing, desperate to reclaim them. James barely moved in time, dragging Lily behind him. He felt the rush of wind as something unseen passed dangerously close, whispering sweet promises of surrender. "Come to us, come play no. We want to play your games," James shouted, suddenly lucid with fear. And then a colossal figure materialized from the shadows, a dark silhouette, taller than any child should be, filled with twisted features that morphed in and out of focus. Eyes that burned with malice locked onto them, and he could feel the weight of its gaze pulling him into the abyss. "Your bravery is amusing," it hissed, growling like thunder. "But it will cost you dearly." James felt the ground tremble beneath his feet, the familiar wooden floorboards cracking like bones. The shadows swelled around him, an ocean of despair. Panic clawed at his throat, and he fought the urge to flee, to sink into the familiar despair and give up. "Lily, we have to find a way out," he urged, scanning the walls for some sign of escape. His mind raced, piecing together the chaos around them. He remembered stories, tales of children who had trapped the dark spirit, binding it with their laughter, their hopes. "We have to laugh, Lily. We have to be brave." "Laugh?" she echoed, confusion mingling with tears on her cheeks. "Yes. We have to believe we can win." As the shadows lunged again, James turned to Lily, forcing a smile through his fear. "Remember that time we built a fort together? Let us make one now. Stay together." He knelt, arms wide, inviting her into an embrace. "Come on, Lily. Together." And in that moment, as he held her tightly, their laughter, the sweet, innocent sound, crackled against the shadowy air like fire. The light shimmered weakly at first, but it began to pulse, responding to their defiance. The figure hissed and recoiled as the ethereal glow fought against the darkness. "You vile creatures! You want to take her." With renewed determination, James roused himself, kicking against the encroaching shadows. Fear clung to him like mist, but there was no stopping now. The laughter ignited a flame in them both, a tiny ember bursting into life. And as the darkness howled, a blinding flare of light sparked outward. But just as victory seemed within reach, James felt the ground beneath him slip. Something deeper churned, like a hidden abyss eagerly licking its lips. Would they break free, or become forever entwined in the shadows that refused to let them go? They sank, a heavy plunge into cold, clammy darkness. James felt his heart race as he and Lily fell deeper and deeper, the laughter fading like a distant echo. The bright light above shrank away until it was just a pinprick in the oppressive void, swallowed whole by the yawning darkness around them. "Daddy! Daddy! Lily's terrified voice broke through the swirling nothingness, pulling him back from the edge of despair. He grasped for her, fingers clawing at the shadows, desperate for any anchor in this hell. I'm here. I'm right here. He strained to keep his grip, the panic clawing at his throat like a hidden beast. The weight of the shadows pressed down, smothering his courage. But he couldn't let her go. Not now. A flicker of light sputtered to life ahead, a small but urgent flame. They tumbled toward it, the darkness swirling around like a storm, shrieking and wailing as if the abyss itself were alive, angry at their defiance. Keep holding on. We're almost there. James shouted, pulling Lily in tighter, heart thrumming, each beat echoing the dread that sought to consume them. As they neared the light, the world changed. The shadows stretched away like wretched phantoms fleeing terror, revealing a realm that felt impossibly wrong. They were inside the treehouse, but something had shifted. The walls were sinister and warped, covered in damp, oozing darkness, the air thick with a smell of decay and whispers. Look, Daddy, Lily whispered, pointing ahead. In front of them stood a mirror, a vast, tarnished surface that pulsed with darkness, reminding James of the void they had just escaped. Yet the reflection within distorted their image. Not a perfect likeness, rather something more twisted. They appeared as specters, hollow-eyed and shrouded in shadow. No. That's not us. James cried, backing away. But Lily stepped closer, her small fingers reaching toward the glass. Lily! Don't touch it. Panic surged through him. What if it pulled her in? But she turned, eyes gleaming with an unsettling resolve. Maybe it can show us how to get out. Before he could stop her, she pressed her palm against the mirror surface, and in an instant, the world quaked. Images began swirling within the glass, a chaotic montage of laughter, fear, and darkness. James could see their past, a flickering memory of playing in the sunlight, followed by terrifying visions of shadows creeping into their cheerful days. Suddenly, a ghastly face appeared in the glass, a twisted version of the colossal figure from before, but smaller, more intimate. It bore a grim smile, eyes brightening with cruel delight. Touch it, dear child, it beckoned in a voice thick with poison. Embrace the truth of what you are. Lily. No. James shouted, fear clawing at him. But Lily was already entranced, moving closer, the reflection seeming to call to her, wrapping her in a dark embrace. In that moment, James felt a pulse of despair stronger than ever. Lily. He lunged forward, but the mirror rippled, pushing him back like a powerful wave. The darkness surged, an all-consuming current that pulled at his legs, threatening to drag him into its oppressive depths. He swayed, struggling to remain upright, hysteria threatening to consume him. Daddy! Lily screamed, torn between the mirror and him, a taut string of hope stretched to its breaking point. The shadows roared, hungry to consume their connection, to sever the bond they had fought so hard to keep. Lily! Fight it! Remember who we are. His voice cracked, panic turning his words into a desperate prayer. But the mirror shimmered brighter, the darkness around them swirling in an angry cyclone. James felt himself slipping, and the echoes of the past grew louder, drowning out any thoughts of tomorrow. What would they have to sacrifice to escape? What truth lay hidden in that twisted reflection? As the shadows reached for him, James braced for the impending darkness, knowing that everything they had fought for hung in the balance. Could they survive the truth? Or would they be lost, forever entwined in the horrors staring back at them? The air hummed with a sickening energy, vibrating as if the very walls were alive. James fought to regain his footing while the mirror's glow morphed into a blinding light, washing over everything. He reached out for Lily, heart pounding, but the shadows clawed at him. They were cold and clammy, a vice around his limbs. Lily! He shouted again, his voice cracking under the weight of dread. She was still mesmerized, entranced by the reflection that seemed to pulse with her every heartbeat. Daddy, look! Her eyes sparkled, a strange mix of terror and wonder, entirely lost to the dark warmth of the entity beyond. It's showing us things. No. Run. He begged. But the shadows whispered sweet nothings, promising secrets and newfound power. The mirror shimmered like a siren's call, pulling James into its depths. Images flickered like wildfire: a broken childhood, a dark family secret, everything they had buried beneath the surface. Join us, the grotesque voice crooned again, each word curling around him like the coiling smoke of a fire. He felt it creep into his thoughts, his fears, his failures. Lily. Please. He lunged forward, desperate to save her from whatever this was. The depths of the mirror churned as she remained fixed, hand pressed against the surface, a look of ravenous curiosity on her face. Suddenly, the reflection shifted. Lily began to change. Her eyes darkened, the innocent sparkle fading into an abyss of nothingness. The tiny face twisted, morphing into a sight so grotesque he could barely breathe. "I want to stay, Daddy," she said, her voice sickly sweet and dripping with malice. James stumbled back, horror shooting through him. "This isn't you, Lily. This isn't real." Then the reflection changed again. He saw things that made his stomach churn: images of his wife, her eyes vacant, a doppelganger of her former self. Moments he wished to forget danced before him: their last family dinner, the argument, the slam of the door. Each memory tightened around his throat like a noose. No. He was losing her. Don't trust it. It feeds on our pain, it's lying. The shadows lurked, writhing at his feet, filling the treehouse with an oppressive dread. Father and daughter, together forever in the dark, it hissed, mocking his struggle. His hands trembled as he searched for something, anything, to pull Lily back. He could see molten fear in her eyes now, fear of becoming something she couldn't understand. "Fight it, Lily. Fight." But the mirror surged with energy, distorting their realities into chaos. The sinister face emerged once more, this time towering over the surface like a beast waiting to pounce. It grinned, teeth glistening like knives. "You are lost, James. With your daughter by my side, I will become unstoppable." With a primal roar, he lunged forward, tearing his palm hard against the glass. It felt like striking a solid wall. The world around him twisted as if testing his resolve. The visions blurred, and he was engulfed in the faces of every shadow they had ever encountered: countless lost souls drawn to the mirror, all whispering, pleading. In that heartbeat of a moment, reality flickered. Could he truly fight the darkness without losing everything? Would letting Lily succumb seal their fates forever? The mirror surged forward, and he shouted again, "We are stronger than this." He could see light peeking through the sides, a hope in the dark. But as the shadows clawed back, battering at his consciousness, James felt his grip slipping. Could he pull Lily back from the edge? Or would she vanish into the depths forever, lost among the many voices of the damned? As the mirror throbbed with sinister intention, enveloping the room in shadows, he stumbled backward. The darkness reached out again, an omnipresent force whispering his weaknesses into the void. Fear curled in him like a living thing. And then came the whisper, a soft voice in the chaos that shattered through the tumult. "Daddy, please." Before he could react, the room trembled violently, and everything around them began to shatter into darkness. What awaited him on the other side? Would he find Lily, or had the sinister mirror claimed them both? The darkness closed in like an insatiable beast, swallowing James whole. His heart raced, pumping adrenaline through his veins as reality twisted and stretched. He felt himself being pulled into the void, a nightmarish descent into a realm where logic had no place. Lily. His call was a desperate echo, drowned by the roaring shadows that encircled him. He was spinning in a void of black, unable to tell up from down, with no sense of direction. Then, a pull, a fleeting connection sent a jolt through him, like electricity. Glimpses of light flickered, and he saw her. She stood there in the darkness, the mirror-esque glow illuminating her small form. But this wasn't the Lily he knew. The strange light bent her features, warped them into something alien. "Daddy!" she called, but the sound was hollow, as if carried on a breeze from another world. "Stay with me." He felt his body shift, not of his own accord but pulled by an unseen force. Images flashed around him, memories, dreams, and fears blurred together like a storm of emotions. His wife's face, twisted with anguish. "Keep fighting." Suddenly, the scenery changed. James was no longer in the treehouse, he was in a forest, but not just any forest. This place felt familiar yet deeply unsettling. The trees loomed above him, their gnarled branches hanging low as if reaching for him, whispering secrets in a language he couldn't understand. Footsteps echoed through the twilight, heavy and deliberate. He turned, his heart racing. Shadows slithered between the trees, moving closer, their forms indistinct and jagged. He could hear chanting menacing, rhythmic like a primal drumbeat summoning the darkness around him. "Lily!" Panic surged through him, clawing through his chest. This had to be part of the mirror's magic, a trap designed to ensnare him. He took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "Stay away from the shadows." The chanting grew louder, a cacophony of voices rising around him. Faces emerged from the gloom, twisted and mournful, their mouths framed in silent screams. They lunged forward, grasping for him, pulling at his clothes, their fingers ice-cold. He wrenched free, stumbling backward, barely dodging their hands. He had to find her. He had to, and then it hit him. A sudden, exploding realization. This forest was part of the same dream his family had woven through their own pain. Secrets buried in the soil of their broken past, scars etched deep. "Lily!" He screamed again, desperation spilling into every syllable. And just like that, the chanting ceased. Silence washed over the grove, thick and oppressive. It felt like the air held its breath, waiting. Ahead, he saw a figure, distorted and black. "Daddy!" It was her voice again, tinged with a sweet lilt that felt dangerous. He stepped closer despite the gnawing fear burrowing in his stomach. "Help me." James reached for her, grasping at the fragile threads of hope. "Just hold on." As he neared, black tendrils erupted from the shadows, snaking around him, pulling him in. He fought, but their strength was overwhelming. The world pulsed with disbelief. "Join us, let her go," he screamed, clenching his fists against the suffocating darkness. This isn't real. But the more he resisted, the stronger their grip became. The forest morphed, twisting at the seams. Suddenly, everything around him erupted into kaleidoscopes of stunning color and despair. Then the laughter began, the hollow, malicious sound echoed throughout. "You can't save her." Reality shattered again. Where would he land this time? Would he see Lily again, or was she already lost forever, just another whisper in the dark? Suddenly, as if the answer lingered in the air, the ground beneath him gave way, sending him tumbling into an endless abyss. Would he fight his way back to his daughter, or be consumed by the darkness that beckoned him closer? Weightless and disoriented, James spun through the void, swallowed by an ever-deepening abyss. A cold sweat coated his brow as he tumbled, time dilating painfully, every second stretching into eternity. The laughter echoed in his mind, wrapping around his thoughts, mocking him. "You can't save her." Suddenly, with a violent jolt, he landed hard on damp earth, gasping for air. The cold seeped through his clothes, biting at his skin. The forest was alive around him, yet suffocated under layers of shadow. The trees were grotesque, their bark twisted like bones, the branches contorted as if reaching for something just beyond their grasp. "Lily!" His voice cracked. An urgency pulsed inside him, fierce and pleading that he got to his feet, trying to steady himself. The chanting began anew, rhythmic and hypnotic, crawling into his mind. Shadows danced just out of sight, pulling at the corners of his vision. He stepped forward, every rustle in the underbrush sending a fresh wave of terror through him. "Don't let them take you." The words slipped out, a mantra against the growing darkness that threatened to engulf him again. Then, he heard her a soft cry, distant but clear. "Daddy!" It twisted his heart, a thread of fragile hope threading through the terror. With renewed desperation, he plunged deeper into the woods, moving between the gnarled trees. Faint whispers followed him, carrying snatches of memories he wished to forget, laughter, love, and pain, all laced with the shadows of sorrow. He paused, breathing heavily. The air thickened with despair, hot and suffocating. "Where are you?" he shouted, trying to cut through the noise of the approaching darkness. The night filled with chilling quiet, as if the trees were eavesdropping on his plea. Then, abruptly, a rustle broke the silence. A figure darted between the trees, a shadow, too quick, too indistinct to grasp. Fear gripped his heart. It could be Lily, or something worse. "Lily! Come back!" He stepped forward, determination buried under layers of dread. The distant laughter returned, this time closer, more taunting. "You'll never escape." The voices slithered around him, dark and twisting, pulling him down. He clamped his hands over his ears, trying to drown it out, but the volume only increased, merging into a chaotic symphony of anguish. Breaking out of it, he ran, darting through the trees, heart pounding against his ribs. The ground beneath his feet felt alive, thumping like a heartbeat. Shapes darted at the edges of his vision. Were they phantoms or tricks of the mind? "Lily!" He screamed again, desperation echoing between the massive trunks. "Where are you?" A burst of light suddenly blazed through the trees. He stumbled forward, momentarily blinded. Adjusting his eyes, he saw it, a source of pure, white light emanating from a clearing just ahead. "Lily!" The hope surged within him like fire. But as he approached, a shadow stretched across the ground, blocking his path. It pulsed, thrumming with dark energy as it twisted into a form faceless, amorphous, yet undeniably there. "Don't go towards the light," it whispered, the sound dripping with malicious intent. "It's not what it seems." James froze, heart racing. The weight of fear pressed against him, paralyzing. Could he trust that light? Was it a way out, or a lure deeper into the void? "Lily!" His voice trembled, cracked, teetering on the edge of sanity. The darkness coiled tighter, and he felt the heartbeat of the forest echoing in time with his. The trees shifted, the laughter grew, and now he had to choose. Would he follow the light and risk losing himself, or would he succumb to the dark, perhaps losing Lily forever? With a deep breath, James took a step toward the light, heart pounding what awaited him on the other side. Would it be salvation or doom? James felt the weight of dread settle onto his chest as he took that first step toward the blinding light. The shadows danced, curling into swirls of nothingness behind him, whispering taunts that echoed in the bones of the trees, trying to root him in place. But Lily's desperate voice echoed in his heart, the sound of her crying cutting through the dark like a knife. "Daddy!" He pushed through the fear, heart pounding like a jackhammer, each beat urging him forward. With every step, the light grew brighter, shimmering like a beacon of hope in the churning darkness. Could the light be the way out of this cursed nightmare? Would his decision lead him to safety, or would it draw him deeper into the abyss that sought to claim them both? "Lily!" He shouted again, voice hoarse but resolute amid the mist of fear wrapping around him. Drawing on every ounce of courage left within him, he sprinted forward, each stride fueled by desperation. He burst through a dense line of trees, and finally, he was enveloped by that pure, white light. It enveloped him, warm and soothing, purging the shadows that had clung to him, promising salvation, and there she was. Lily stood in the center of the luminescence, her small frame illuminated like an angel, basking in the glow of hope. At that moment, she looked wholly untouched by the darkness that had swirled around them. A gleaming joy broke through the turmoil in his heart. "Lily!" As he rushed toward her, an unyielding force gripped him, pulling him less toward her and more toward the predatory darkness gathering at the edges of the clearing. Daddy, please. Help me. She cried, her voice strained, laced with fear. No. He roared, fighting against the tide, muscles straining against the phantom weight. The shadows, sensing his resolve, lashed out, coiling around his limbs, trying to drag him back, but he fought against them with every last vestige of strength he could muster. He was not losing her, not today. Lily. Hold on to my voice. He shouted, straining against the tugging shadows that pooled beneath him, obscuring the ground like a fog of terror. I'm scared. She whimpered, her innocence terrified and trembling, but he could see the flicker of bravery in her eyes that he took a step closer, willing everything he had into that connection. You're not alone. We're going home together. With that, he surged through the darkness, their voices mingling, lifting him. As he pushed through the chilling clamminess, he caught her small hand in his. Their fingers locked together like a lifeline, and warmth flooded through him, igniting the fire of hope that had kept him going through this nightmare. Suddenly, a thunderous roar erupted from the shadows around them, the monstrous voice they had encountered before, now furious. You can't escape. You've awakened the darkness. It was a howl of frustration, chilling to the bone, but this time, James squinted against the dark as he leaned closer to Lily. Believe in me, sweetheart. Just like before, we can fight this together. Just then, the shadows pulled harder, swirling around them like a tempest as James crouched low, protecting her. The light pulsed around them, blinding and pure, but it felt like it teetered on the verge of snuffing out. Shadows threatened to engulf the brightness, taunting them, playing on their fears. Lily's grip tightened. Don't let go, Daddy. I won. I promise. He shouted, fury surging in him like fire. He took a breath, remembering their laughter, their moments of joy together. Those memories filled him with strength, warming him in the icy grip of terror. You can't take my daughter. We will not be lost. With a final, defiant push, James took a step forward, pulling Lily through the swirling shadows within the light. At that moment, the darkness howled like wounded animals. You think this light can save you? Shadows lashed out, snapping around them. But suddenly, James felt the warmth envelop them completely, consuming everything. The shadows around them shrieked in fury, their grip loosening, flickering like candle flames. Then, with an explosive rush of air and light, the shadows recoiled. They were thrust backward, screaming as if set ablaze. A wave of power surged through the clearing, and James felt Lily's energy ignite with each heartbeat together. They were formidable. The blinding light erupted, expanding outward like a shockwave, forcing the shadows into retreat. The cacophony faded momentarily, leaving an echo of silence, their voices the only remnants, vibrating in the air between them. James held Lily close, breathless, muscles heavy as they tumbled into the resetting dawn. They fell onto soft grass, sunlight kissing their skin. The whisper of wind carried a soothing warmth, and the once haunting treehouse stood silent behind them, a distant memory now locked away in the shadows. We did it, Daddy! Lily exclaimed, innocence flooding back into her wide eyes. James breathed heavily, pulling her into his arms, the grip of fear finally loosening. Yes, we did. Relief washed over him, tears brimming as he enveloped her in protection, sorrowful moments transforming into joyous relief. From that day forward, the treehouse was never the same. They built new memories, painted over the tales that once haunted that wood, choosing to celebrate the light that shared space with shadow. They remembered, but the bond they formed that night ran deeper than whispered fears. It was the love that triumphed over terror, the resilience of a father, and the sacred call of a daughter. With hearts mended and laughter spilling from their lips once more, the whispers faded, echoing into legends best left behind. Now, if you enjoyed this emotional thrill ride, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't wait even one more second. Make sure to smash that like button now to feed the algorithm so we can keep bringing you stories that send shivers down your spine, and flood the comments section with your thoughts. What did you think of the twist? Did you expect it? I want to hear your theories. Lastly, share this video with at least 5 friends who you know need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support for more gripping tales like this one.